We're live to YouTube. Council, it's 5 o'clock. We've got our mayor for a day here today with us to open up the council meeting, Taylor May Brown. And so we will have her open our council meeting as we do. Taylor?
To acknowledge with respect, we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory. The land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and is known as Powhatan. It is home to Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the History Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council.
Council, Taylor is a grade 5 student at St. Francis Catholic Elementary School who submitted a video for Mayor for a Day. If we got the video teed up to play, we can share it for all of council to take a look at.
I'm Taylor May Brown and welcome to Sault Ste. Marie. If I were mayor for the day, this is what I would do. Breakfast. Behind me is the Miss Marie tour ship. We're going to turn this into the beaver tail boat. We're going to have a town show here at the Bond Art Center. We're going to build a giant snow fort here and have a citywide snowball fight at the downtown plaza. Every Friday night, we're going to have campfires and roast marshmallows at the Sioux Lofts. I will declare a good tree day at Bellevue Park. Thanks for considering me. Love you, Sault Ste. Marie. I wonder how much it would cost to have Taylor Swift come to the machine shop. Maybe that's next year's budget.
Right. Well, we caught some of the video and all of the audio there, sometimes twice. But we will have Taylor take us through the first steps of our council agenda. So Taylor.
Under agenda item 2, I have a motion by Councillors Spina and Gardy. Resolved minutes of regular council meeting of June 2, 2025 be approved.
All in favor? That carries.
And under agenda item 4, declarations of pecuniary interest, Mayor Shoemaker has declared with respect to the property sale of 657 4th Line East and its associated bylaw as the purchaser is a client of the law firm on this matter. Also on 0 Sackville Road and Part 128 Sackville Road, as the purchaser is also a client of the law firm on this matter and the associated bylaw. And Councillor Vezo Allen with respect to the 2025 Arts and Culture Assistance Grants late intake, as she's the founder and ex officio member of Grocer for Good. Are there any other pecuniary interests?
I don't have a pecuniary interest, but with your conflicts, if you want to keep Taylor around.
The whole meeting.
And under agenda item 5, I have a motion by Councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy. I had Scott, but it'll be Gardy. Resolved that the agenda for June 23, 2025 City Council meeting as presented be approved.
Carries.
All right, Council, we've got a number of honorable mentions here as well in the gallery that we are going to present some gift bags and thank you, the tokens of our appreciation too. So with Taylor and I coming to the front of the podium, we'll call up our honorable mentions. So we've got Scarlett Douglas from Parkland Public School. We've got Jax O'Hara from Greenwood Public School. Oh, stay here, Scarlett. And we've got Charlotte McKenzie from Terran Torres Public School. All right, so we could do a group photo and then we'll do one with each of them individually. And I'm told we may have the glitches worked out on video here, so we're going to go through the video. Taylor, grab a seat. We'll have audio and video working together this time.
I'm Taylor May Brown, and welcome to Sault Ste. Marie. If I were mayor for the day, this is what I would do. Every day we're going to start with a free pancake breakfast. Behind me is the Miss Marine tour ship. We're going to turn this into the Beaver Tail boat. We're going to have a town show here at the Bond Art tent. We're going to build a giant snowboard here. And have a citywide snowball fight at the downtown plaza. Every Friday night, we're going to have campfires and roast marshmallows at the Sea Locks. I will declare I'll be treated at Bellevue Park. Thanks for considering me. Love you, Sault Ste. Marie. I wonder how much it would cost to have Taylor Swift come to the machine shop. Maybe that's next year's budget.
So thanks very much, Taylor, and we'll see you back here in 8 years when you can actually be the mayor. All right, council.
So before we get to our presentations, I do have a bylaw. I've got a motion by councillors Gardy and Spina resolved that bylaw 2025-114 being a bylaw to appoint Jeffrey King as city solicitor be passed in open council this 23rd day of June 2025.
Council, any questions? Congratulations to Mr. King. Congratulations to Ms. Fields on her impending retirement. We can have a vote on the bylaw. All in favor? That carries.
Bring us to agenda item 6.2, 2024 audited financial statements.
Mr. Pino, welcome to council.
Good evening. Mayor and members of council, my name's Eric Pino. I'm an audit partner here with KPMG and Sault Ste. Marie, here to present the audit findings for the 2024 year end. Mr. Poloni's the lead engagement partner for the city file, but a personal matter came up that doesn't allow him to be here tonight, so he does send his regrets. So we have completed our audit over the financial statements for the 2024 year end. They're audited to a materiality level of approximately $4.4 million, which is approximately 2% of your prior year's revenue. For the information of this council, though, the number that I always find to be more relevant is our posting threshold, and that was set at $220,000 for the year. So what that would represent is any number over and above that, we would report back to this council as a difference. Anything under that amount is considered trivial and something that can get corrected in future periods. So for context, that's less than 0.1% of your total revenues and total assets, just to give you a sense of the precision when providing our audit opinion and the disclosure of differences. So we are prepared to issue an unqualified audit opinion on the city's financial statements, pending approval from this council, as well as receipt of our management representation letter, and then just some final sign-offs on our audit file. In terms of required communication, there are no matters to report, no disagreements, and no internal control findings or indications of fraud or significant unusual transactions. With respect to the last matter there, in terms of corrected audited differences, as mentioned, we do not have any corrected differences, but just wanted to flag that there were some entries that were posted as what we refer to as period 13. And we actually want to highlight this because it's actually a really good thing. And this is all to say that the audit this year went extremely well and really worked based on some discussions that we had with the CFO and Michelle at the end of the prior year audit, where we met as a team to go through kind of what our plan was to bring forward these financial statements a lot earlier than they have been in prior years. And with the efforts of her team, we worked concurrently in terms of providing and performing a number of our audit procedures in the winter time during December and January, and then working with her team, specifically Mr. Facey, as well as Ashley Caputo and Caitlin Cotramilio and their efforts to be able to bring this to you in the timeline that we have. So just wanted to recognize their efforts and thank them for everything to be able to bring this to you tonight. Outside of the audit, we always like to bring forward, I'll say something in addition to just your regular audit report. And what we've done in prior years and continue to do this year is a form of benchmarking and what we refer to as financial indicators and financial performance indicators. So every municipality in the province is required to file a financial information return. These are due in the summer months. So as a result, the numbers that you see here are based on the 2023 balances, not the 2024 numbers, so 1 year in arrears. These indicators are not necessarily an indication of good or bad. They're really meant for information and to help form the discussions and decisions that this council makes relative to some of your peer group. So that first indicator there in relation to total reserve funds per household. So what we do is we normalize a number of the indicators. So again, because of the differences in population and tax base, we calculate everything on a per household. So based on StatsCan information. So you do see that the city is on the lower end of the peer group. However, when you look at that next indicator, I always think these need to be reviewed in tandem because you do see the city does have capacity to take on debt relative to their peer group. So although the reserve funds are somewhat limited on a per household basis, the debt is also much lower relative to the others in the Northern Ontario. The next indicator references residential taxes per household. So again, this is a measure of total taxes over total households. It is limited in the fact that a number of municipalities provide different services. So this is not a measure of efficiency. It is, again, a simple measure of the capacity to levy the constituents. And again, one of the limitations, it does not account for service levels, and it also does not account for affordability, because it's important to appreciate that there are different income levels across the north, and the ability to obtain additional tax revenue through the community can be limited based on income levels. It's also important to appreciate that we're talking about averages and medians, and there's always going to be different ends of the spectrum, right? I've been very fortunate in my ability to be able to make my tax payments on time and be able to manage the affordability of the city. But it is important to appreciate, again, this is based on medians and not necessarily the high end or low end. This one. I'll just touch on, I'm just going one more. In terms of average increases for the tax levy over the last 5 years, I always like bringing this up because it gives you a sense of how you're doing relative to your peer group. So really what the important piece is this is you are in that mid-range at the average in terms of average increases relative to the other Northern Ontario municipalities. So you're not at the high end or the low end. And again, it's consistent with the cost pressures that a number of municipalities face in terms of payroll pressures and just general inflation with services, continuing to increase the tax levy to help support those, again, consistent with the rest of your peer group. This last slide here, I think is referencing and commending the efforts of the city. So you do see this is a measure of the book value of your assets relative to the historical cost. And we always look for this indicator to be approximately 50%. And what that would represent is that you continue to invest in assets as you use them. So as you get under that 50%, what that is an indication of is there's probably some significant investments coming down the road. And when you're over that 50%, it would suggest that you've invested in assets to help support the infrastructure of the community. So again, this community has done a wonderful job of making those investments, and it is representative in terms of the cost base relative to the book value of your assets. So with that, Mr. Mayor and Council, that concludes the presentation for the audit findings for the 2024 year end. Again, want to recognize the efforts of the finance team here at the city, and happy to take any questions from either yourself, Mr. Mayor, or members of council.
Questions? Councillor? Yes. Ms. Shell? Or to Mr. Facey?
Thank you so much for the presentation. Really appreciate it. To Ms. Shell or Mr. Facey, in terms of the consolidated statements, the audit statements, on page 2, under consolidated expenses, there's protection services expense that had a budget of just over 59 million, and came in at just over 61 million. Could you kindly give us an overview of what those protection services expense entail?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, protection services includes police, fire, animal control, and bylaw services. As the council pointed out, there is a slate over expenditure as per the consolidated financial statements, and as council will be reminded, as part of our year-end variance report, this variance is predominantly as a result of police overspending for 2024 year-end.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions, council, either Mr. Pino or Mr. Facey or Ms. Shell? Thank you, Mr. Pino. The one question, really more of a comment that I wanted to highlight is the total reserves and reserve funds per household and the total long-term debt per household. Are we, I guess it is a question, is the low end column there that shows us on the low end for both reserves and for debt per household, are we the lowest in the province?
I don't have that information, Mr. Mayor. We'd be able to provide that if that's what you'd like. It's just based on the 5 municipalities listed in the presentation.
Got you. Okay, thank you. That clarifies it. Those are all my questions. Any other councillors? Okay, seeing none.
I have a motion by Councillors Hollingsworth and Gardy, resolved that the report of the Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer dated June 23, 2025 concerning 2024 audited financial statements be received and that the financial statements be approved.
All in favor? That carries. Thank you, Mr. Pino. We have SEMA, I believe.
I'm waiting for, is Councillor Hollingsworth, has she? So I will put Councillor Spina as the mover and you voted in the affirmative. Councillor Zagordo? Affirmative.
Affirmative.
Councillor Gardy.
That carries.
So we do have someone in attendance from SEMA, and there is a presentation. They are joining by Zoom.
Mr. Saberwal?
Hi, good evening. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, great. Oh, thank you for putting the presentation up there.
Welcome to council.
Thank you. So if, perfect, thank you so much. So just to give a quick introduction, my name is Ronak Sabarwal. I'm a traffic engineer and project manager here at SEMA Plus. I've been with the company for about 8 years. I'm pleased to present the findings from the downtown parking study for the Sault Ste. Marie downtown area. Completed to the main objective of this study was to review the current parking supply, demand, and policy, and identify the strategies to support a more vibrant and accessible downtown area. So as part of the agenda today, we'll be going over a quick background of the project, doing providing an estimation of what we found during the current, if you just go back to the previous slide, just to give a quick rundown. What we found about the current parking supply and usage, as well as the demand and surplus of the parking in the downtown area, what our recommendations are for the parking zoning bylaws and supply in the area, as well as the options for updating potential parking fees and technology. Yeah. So just to give a quick background of the study area. So this was initiated to modernize the parking policies and align the parking policy with the downtown growth and activity. The study area is the heart of Sault Ste. Marie downtown. As you can see on the image here, it's the study area was bounded by the Wellington Street to the north, St. Mary's River to the south, and from Huron Street to Church Street to the west there. We focused both on public off-site public lots as off-street public lots, as well as the on-street parking areas, and how they can support the downtown vibrancy. We consulted with the public in late 2023 and incorporated some of the best municipal practices from Ontario and northern US. Next slide, please. So there are over 1,600 parking spaces in downtown area, with 14 of them being in on the off-street lots, and nearly 350 being in on the on-street. The largest single lot is the GFL Memorial Gardens, which has parking supply of about 229 spaces. Just one thing to note is that the parking supply here in the 1,200 parking spaces for the off-street parking lots does not include the Bondar Pavilion parking lot, which was closed in the winter when we did the utilization study, and was not included in the parking capacity there. So the next slide there, thank you. So we conducted these surveys in early 2023, between January 30th and February 15th. The following thresholds, which are industry standards, were utilized to assess the parking utilization. So if the occupancy of the parking lot over the study period was less than 75%, that means less than 75% of the study of the parking spaces were utilized at any given time, then it was categorized as low utilization. Between 75 and 85% was categorized as moderate utilization, and greater than 85% was categorized as high utilization. So the main finding from our study was that the average parking utilization is fairly low across the downtown parking area, which is what this image here is showcasing. The utilization rate ranges between 19% to 57% on average. So that's an average of about an average occupancy across the entire parking area of about 37%. And then next slide, please. And then looking at the maximum occupancy. So before we were showing the average occupancy rate, now we're showing the maximum. This is the highest occupancy and utilization that was observed during the study period. And again, all of the off-street parking lots were less than 80% for the maximum occupancy, with only the Spring and March parking lot and Heritage parking lot getting close to that 85% threshold. The maximum occupancy for all on-street parking areas was, again, less than 80%, except for a couple of locations along Queen Street. Overall, there's no systematic shortage of parking in the area. But there are some spots that are more popular than others. But overall, the existing parking supply within the study area was deemed adequate for the downtown area. So moving on to the parking catchment area. So to estimate that, we looked at a 250-meter radius around the parking offsite parking areas that we have, and to see how well it covers the downtown core. And as you can see here, it covers the downtown area quite well. On the bottom left corner there, you'll see the casino and the shopping mall, which provides quite extensive private parking, which was not included as part of the public supply, but their demand was also not included as part of the demand because they had sufficient supply associated with those facilities. As you can see here, most of the downtown area is within the 250 meters of 250 meters of walking to a parking spot. The uncovered area to the top left there is mostly residential, and it's not expected to drive a lot of public parking demand in that area of the downtown. So looking at the parking demand, so we estimated it using the standard ITE, which is the Institute of Transportation Engineers Parking Generation Manual, which uses historical linear regression models to estimate the parking demand based on the building use and land use. So we conducted that based on the GIS files that were available. And as I mentioned earlier, we excluded the casino and shopping mall from this analysis, considering they had the private parking supply connected to those facilities. And as you can see here, the parking demand is mainly or a lot of the parking demand is in zones 1 and 2. So we divided up the downtown area into 6 zones to evaluate to spatially evaluate where there's parking surplus, parking deficits to see if there's a redistribution of parking that may be required, but that was not the case. So overall, the downtown area generates about 6,300 total spaces of parking demand, and after subtracting the private supply that's available, we're left with about 500 spaces of public parking demand, which is what the public parking supply of over 1,300 spaces serve. So we can see that there's a surplus of over 800 public spaces throughout the downtown area, which is consistent with the low utilization and occupancy rates that we had observed during our surveys. Next slide, please. So this is just a continuation of the parking demand, supply, and surplus analysis that I was discussing earlier. So as you can see at the bottom right here, it shows the parking surplus throughout the downtown area. So zones 2 and 4 show the highest level of surplus, which means that there's an ample supply of parking in those areas compared to the demand. And zones 1 and 3 also show a positive parking supply surplus. So again, showing that there's more parking supply than demand in that area. And zone 6, which includes the casino, and zone 5, which includes the shopping center, as well as the some residential areas, were excluded from this analysis. So overall, based on our analysis and the literature review that we conducted, we came up with some recommendations for to update the existing zoning bylaw. So in terms of the minimum parking requirement, our recommendation was that the city should consider removing so the city should introduce no minimum parking requirement for at least the non-residential parking uses within the downtown area. If that is not feasible, then the city should consider lowering the minimum parking requirements in the downtown area. For the maximum parking requirements, that works hand in hand with the no minimum parking requirement. So for the maximum parking requirement, we do recommend the city consider enforcing that for certain a certain building or land use cases. There's no adjustments recommended to the city's current minimum barrier-free parking requirements. They are within the thresholds for what's accepted in Ontario. At this time, there's no EV parking requirements recommended in the short term. However, in the long term, the city may want to consider the federal government's legislations that would require 100% of new vehicles that are sold in Canada to be zero emissions. So that may impact this in the medium to long term. But for now, there's no EV parking requirements that are recommended. And moving on to the active transportation requirements. So for bicycle parking requirements, we recommend the city consider introducing bicycle parking requirements in areas where there's existing or proposed active transportation infrastructure. So this would be a corridor by corridor this would be on a corridor by corridor basis instead of a blanket blanket policy. And then lastly, similar to the EV parking requirement, the city should monitor the demand for the micromobility vehicles, such as e-scooters or e-bikes and things of that nature, to see if there's a significant demand in the area for to warrant a specific policy for those types of micromobility vehicles in the future. And then the last slide here is just about the recommendations based on the current parking supply and potential fees modification. So the parking supply and demand analysis, which I showed earlier in the slide, shows that there is an opportunity to reduce the amount of parking spaces servicing the study area without having a significant impact on the availability of parking. This was especially evident in Zone 2. So for example, a primary candidate for this potential reutilization of the parking lot would be on Queen Street between Bruce and Elgin. And since the average parking occupancy there was 16%, which is less than 4 times less than the occupancy of the nearest parking lot, so it may be a good candidate site for reutilization of that area as something other than parking. The parking occupancy results do not support the need for changes to the current parking fees framework. This is in line with the previous work that the city had done. However, it can be recommended that the current parking data collection technology can be modified to support a parking rate differentiation between different zones if the city has interest in that. The city currently utilizes the Passport Inc., which manages the parking payment solutions within the downtown area. And based on our review of the sample data provided, it was recommended that the city consider geocoding the on-street parking data to spatially monitor the on-street parking utilizations to understand, okay, where are their hotspots, where there's overutilization, underutilization of the on-street parking within the downtown, and then use that data to make informed public parking decisions, such as potential mitigation strategies for the high utilization areas, longer term parking requirements, changes to the review of changes to the parking duration limits, and things of that nature. So in summary, the downtown parking supply, based on our analysis, is more than sufficient for the demand. There's an opportunity to update the policy and reduce oversupply in certain area, and also there's an opportunity to modernize the parking tech to support better management in the future. So I thank you and welcome any questions that you may have.
Questions, Council? Councillor Rizzo-Allen?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you so much for your presentation. My question is for Mr. Tonazzo. Mr. Tonazzo, could you kindly remind us what the business, like as in non-residential parking requirements are in the downtown area for businesses?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Rizzo-Allen. So we have different ratios depending on the use.
Yep.
They are generally reduced from elsewhere in the community. And then there are some various exceptions that sort of grandfather in existing parking shortages at present. So they're across, they're all over the board, to be quite honest, but they're generally less than elsewhere in the community.
Okay. So in your opinion, if we had a zero parking requirement for non-residential new business in the downtown area, would that boost people looking at investing in the downtown in terms of whether it's service related or retail related business? Has there been, in your experience, sort of that being a detriment to being able to open a new business in the downtown area due to the parking requirement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it has been a detriment. Certainly, I'm aware of certain businesses and smaller scale residential developments that are, awaiting these amendments. And if approved, there will be some development going ahead that wouldn't otherwise be permitted based on the current requirements. But just to also clarify, we're not recommending a reduction to zero. We're
Okay.
recommending a 40% reduction generally across the board, and then allowing small scale development to occur without the need for any parking. So it's more of an incremental approach.
So to clarify, Mr. Tonato, if there was like a secondary unit, residential unit put on a second floor, could that be subject to a zero parking requirement to have more housing available downtown?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it would. At this point, we're recommending up to 4 new units could be built without the need for any additional parking.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Vesuel. And other councillors with questions? Okay, seeing none. That concludes the presentation from SEMA. So thank you, Mr. Sabarwal.
Thank you, everyone for the opportunity.
That brings us to consent, Madam Clerk.
And I will just, so we've accepted 7.4, which is the Arts and Culture Assistant Grants on account of Councillor Vesuelin's conflict, and 7.14, Hope's Cradle, and then 717 is the, speaks to the bylaw for Prince Township for policing that Councillor Scott asked to be separated, and 718 and 720 are the real estate matters that the mayor has conflicts on, but those last 3 are bylaws, so I don't need to separate them for votes under 7.
Okay. That still amazingly leaves about 20 items on consent if there are questions. Councillor Vesuel, you were asking questions on 7.24 already. So if you have other matters on consent, don't. Okay. Council matters on consent? Okay.
Councillor Kinnick.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Kinnick. What matter? What matter on consent? Oh, all right, 7.24. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Tenazo. Just give me a second here. Sorry, I wasn't right. Okay, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think this is to Mr. Tenazo. So we have a master plan for our city where we are projecting population growth. And I just wanted to ask, in the future projection of our population, is the parking sufficient that we have right now? And if we reach that goal of population versus, because the snapshot we took of the parking is for our population right now, not for our future population. And if we get rid of parking, it might be difficult to return the parking. So I just wanted to hear his comments about that.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Kinnick. So we're of the opinion that there's a sufficient surplus of parking in the downtown to reduce parking requirements and try to get to that 85% utilization rate, which is the industry standard. It's the most efficient use of our land, and actually gets us the best revenues for the parking lots that we do provide and run a deficit on. I think as some have said before, we'd like to get to a state of our downtown where parking actually is a problem. It's a problem, but it's not necessarily as bad as vacant buildings. So we're of the opinion that there's enough surplus in the system to allow for growth. And as we start and we continue to monitor through the commissionaires, as we start to approach 85%, we can take corrective actions such as dialing back up the parking requirements, adding new parking into the system, parking demand management. There's a variety of approaches that we could take should we be lucky enough to get to that point.
Okay, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe this is to Ms. Maioni. Did we know about the roughly $220,000 deficit in the parking before the consultant was hired? And does this include any other services that's categorized under parking?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Kinnick. So the parking deficit is approximately $200,000 to $230,000 annually for the last about 5 years. So we have known about it. And in your second question, I believe you're looking for what entails the cost of it? Or-
Is there any other services that is provided under the heading of parking?
No, it's just the parking fees that we receive for revenue and then the operations, salaries, maintenance for the parking lots.
And just another question. In the report that was proposed to us, we had proposed a minimum bicycle parking requirement. Would there be a proposed fee for parking a bicycle if we introduce bicycle parking in the future, just like there are for cars?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Kinnick, that's not something that we've discussed in regards to a fee for biking, but something that we could look into.
Peter? Or Mr. Tenazzo, sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the minimum bicycle parking is part of our amendments to the zoning bylaw. It doesn't necessarily relate to just downtown. It's a minimal bike parking for private development. So think larger scale private development. So think like a grocery store or a shopping center, whereas part of their minimum parking requirement, they would have to provide a certain number of bike racks as well. So they likely would be free, I would think, just like the majority of our private off-street parking is free.
Okay, thank you. That's all for 7.2.
Anyone else on 7.24? Councillor Kinnick, you said 716.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Fields. So just one question. So in the report that you brought forward, we said it could be discriminatory policies to include restricting residency of employees. So I just wanted to ask like a statement and a question why we couldn't do this in theory. So there's plenty of licensing bodies for many professions such as educators, legal, medical, and dental, which are limited to work in only one province. So why couldn't the city have a similar policy to work only within the district of the city?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Kinnick, you can have a policy that says that. It's just that it may result in discrimination that will come out of it.
So it may result, but in your report, you concluded that there wouldn't be discrimination. There's no, but it could be in the future discrimination, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Sir Kinnick, yes, on its face, it doesn't appear to be discriminatory because there's no objection to, there's no protected ground that it's affected, but it will potentially affect First Nations people. For example, I use that example in the report. That's how it could show up to be a systemic discrimination down the road.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I will reluctantly support your recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Kinnick. Other questions on 716? Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Fields. On that similar line of questioning as Councillor Kinnick, rather than simply state, living in Sault Ste. Marie or whatever it may be, could we do that they had to live within 200 kilometers of City Hall or something to that effect, and that would kind of capture the surrounding areas?
Through you, Mr. to Councillor Scott, yes, you could say that. And it would then protect, I guess, the areas that we thought might be discriminatory or discriminated against. You can do the same thing, though, on a job posting. So you could say, you have to be able to attend at the workplace 5 days a week. Or you have to be able to respond to an emergency within X number of minutes. So you could do it in different ways, but you could also do it with a policy.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on 716? Okay, Council Kinnick, other items on consent?
No, that's all from me. Thank you.
Anyone else with items on consent? Okay,
Then I have a motion by Councillors Spina and Gardy, resolved that all items listed under date June 23, 2025, agenda item 7, consent agenda, save and accept agenda items 7.4, 7.14, 7.17, 7.18, and 7.20 be approved as recommended.
all in favor? That carries.
That will take us to agenda item 7.4. A motion by Councillors Spina and Gardy, resolved that the report of the manager of Recreation and Culture dated June 23, 2025 concerning 2025 Arts and Culture Assistant Program grants late intake allocation of funds be approved as follows. And there are 21 of them
As listed.
as listed.
So this is accepted on the count of Councillor Vezo-Allen's conflict. So are there any questions on this, Council? Okay, seeing none, we could have a vote on the matter. That carries.
Councillor Gardy in the affirmative, Councillor Scott. Bring us to agenda item 7.14, Hope's Cradle. There was a motion to accept the report as information. I've received an amendment. Motion by Councillors Caputo and Vezo-Allen, resolved that the report of the fire chief dated June 23, 2025 concerning Hope's Cradle be received and that the matter be referred back to appropriate staff for additional input and information.
Councillor Caputo, your amendment. So, and there's a seconder, sorry, Madam Clerk?
Councillor Vezo-Allen.
Yes, Councillor Vezo-Allen. So, Councillor Caputo, we'll go to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Vezo-Allen and I were just hoping to be able to gather some more information and for staff to be able to come back with a more fulsome report regarding how our legal team feels about Hope's Cradle. So we're hoping to move this to another date when that information can be provided.
Mr. Mayor? Or Mr. Johnson, any comments, feedback on that? No? Councillor Caputo, in terms of additional information from the legal department, this would be an opinion on
Liability.
liability. Yes, sorry. You'd think for
A lawyer.
someone who works
It's okay.
in my field, I might remember that word.
It's okay, that's why I'm here.
So opinion on liability. Would it also be possible, Mr. Vare, Mr. Johnson, Chief Johnson, to get information on what the operational costs would be if implemented? I know you've got the capital costs, but the operational costs? Council, any questions about the amendment? This won't be debated tonight if we pass the amendment. Good, okay. All in favor of the amendment? That carries.
Bring us to agenda item 9.1, a motion by Councillors Spina. Who will be your seconder in the absence of Councillor Hollingsworth?
Councillor Bruni?
Councillor Bruni. Whereas there are multiple marinas and boat launches in the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and whereas users pay a fee of $7 to launch their boat and park in the lot, and whereas veterans from all branches of the Canadian Armed Forces have contributed to the safety, security, and well-being of residents of and visitors to the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and whereas the recreational use of marinas and boat launches helps enhance the quality of life for users, whereas as a small act of appreciation, the city of Sault Ste. Marie already offers free parking to veterans or vehicles transporting veterans. Now therefore be it resolved that staff be requested to implement a process to allow veterans of the Canadian Armed Forces to also access marinas and boat launches within the city of Sault Ste. Marie free of charge, beginning with the 2025 season.
Councillor Spina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as Madam Clerk was reading, I realized I may have missed a couple of keywords, and I'm hoping we can have a friendly amendment before veterans and active members.
Councillor Bruno, you're friendly to that amendment?
Back it up, Sandra.
Councillor Spina, anything to add on the motion itself?
Yes, thank you. I really, before I say anything, I want to thank Ken McCracken, local resident here in Sault Ste. Marie, who actually brought this forward to me and asked for it to be looked at. He provided some really great information, some great context to this. So I'm very thankful to him for doing that. And I really want to give him credit for bringing this idea forward and doing it in the right way. We did have staff take a look at this. Mr. Lamming took a look at it to see if maybe they could implement it short of having a motion. So I appreciate the work he did, but we're here today because it did require a motion. I think the motion speaks for itself, and I think it also speaks to the value that residents in our community can add to our community by reaching out to their councillors and providing great ideas when they have them. And that's one that Mr. McCracken had here today. So I want to thank him for that. And other than that, I sincerely hope other councillors choose to support this as well. Thank you.
Council, any questions? Seeing none, we get a vote on the matter. All in favor? Carries.
So that councillors, I'll get you, and Councillor Gardy in favor. That'll bring us to bylaws. I have a motion by councillors Spina and Gardy, resolved that all bylaws under item 12 of the agenda under date June 23, 2025, save and accept bylaws 2025-95, 2025-96, 2025-98, and 2025-114 be approved.
All in favor?
And I'm going to do the Prince Police first and then. Just give me a second to find it. It's a motion by councillors Spina and Gardy, resolved that bylaw 2025-98 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of the extension agreement between the city and the corporation of the township of Prince for the provision of policing services to the township be passed in open council this 23rd day of June 2025.
All in favor? Any opposed? That carries.
I have a motion by councillor Spina and Gardy, resolved that bylaw 2025-95 being a bylaw to authorize the sale of surplus property being part of Civic 0 Sackville Road, legally described. I'm not even going to read that. Part of Civic 128 Sackville Road to Griffin Group Real Estate Limited be passed in open council this 23rd day of June 2025.
All in favor? Carries.
For you in the affirmative. Councillor Kinnick in the affirmative. Councillor Gardy, I think you've lost connection.
Jump in on them.
Oh dear, okay. And by councillors Spina and Gardy, resolved that bylaw 2025-96 being a bylaw to authorize the sale of surplus property being Civic 657 4th Line East to Rocketta Holdings Corp. be passed in open council this 23rd day of June 2025.
All in favor? Okay, that carries.
And I have a motion by Councillors Spina and Scott that this council now adjourn.
All in favor? That certainly carries.
Yeah.